Hi, I'm Brian from Simply Brian Enterprises and welcome to my channel. It's been a couple of weeks since I've posted any videos and some of you might be wondering what's going on. Well, I made a hint at my last video. I think it was lesson number 22 of Talk Tech Boy's Raspberry Pi Pico series that I was going to be working on a project and changes were coming to my development environment. And today is the day I can finally show you what I've been up to and take a look at what things are going to look like going forward. But first, I want to do a little history lesson of where I've been so far. So this is what I affectionately refer to as the Redabbler. This is actually my very first video on my YouTube channel, is assembling this in a dark corner of a closet, essentially. And the idea was to bring the Raspberry Pi 4, an Arduino Mega, an ESP32, and a breadboard all together, nicely compacted. You can see the USB cables are kind of neatly holding everything together. There's one power cable coming in, and it was meant to be kind of this self-contained hobbyist environment that I was going to use for Raspberry Pi classes. And for the most part, it worked. However, it did have some drawbacks, the main one being just not big enough to hold projects and things. So here we see just the breadboard with a potentiometer. But if we look at what it kind of evolved into, you can see it got a little messy. And here we see, if you look on the breadboard, you'll see the ADC kind of over to the left side, and the ADC is more or less permanently planted there now. You can see there's just no room on the board, so I had to take little 3D printed items like the joystick controller that you see, and then I added another breadboard to add some potentiometers, and you see how quickly it got cluttered. And that's when I decided to go to this idea of using cardboard platforms. I wanted them to be plywood, but I couldn't get to my wood shop at the time because it was winter. So I made them out of cardboard as kind of an experiment. And I made the one cardboard platform for the Pi class, and I made another one for the Pico class. And you've seen this one probably numerous times. When we started the Pi Pico class in January of 2023, I started using my Pi 400 as the computer, and then I assembled a series of breadboards, six 400-point breadboards, all the same manufacturer, so they lock together really nice. And I was able to put two Picos on that, and that worked out pretty well. But again, you can start to see problems developing. First of all, I wanted to reclaim my Pi 400. This was meant to be temporary to get me up and running, and it was time to just put the Pi 400 back with its other kit. Someday I might show you that. Um, but I actually have other purposes I use the Pi 400 for, so I didn't like it being tied up for class. And you can also see just how much room it takes. Even though I built this cardboard platform, there's still no room for 3D printed items like I've got here, the LCD and the DHT11 sensor. And so as much as, these things kind of worked, but it always left me just desiring a little more room on the breadboard, a little bit more connectivity with all of the different controllers, because what I really wanted to do was I wanted to stop switching between this board and this board. And in fact, I don't think I ever filmed a lesson with this one, just because as easy as I thought it would be to kind of switch between platforms, it actually became a little tedious. And so my idea never really came to fruition. And so today I'm going to be talking about more or less version 3 of this idea. So we started with just the single platform and a single 800-point breadboard, spread out into two different environments using cardboard panels or cardboard platforms. And one thing you haven't seen before, but I've been using for a while, is these plastic boxes. This particular box is, its technical name is a scrapbook supply holder. The reason I've been using these is because they measure just a little over 12 inches in both directions, and they're actually, give me my fingers up here. There we go. They're a couple inches high. You can't quite see the height here. I suppose I can lift this up and show you a little bit. So they work real nice for putting the cardboard platform in, and then again, how I have some of these 3D printed items and stuff, I can just leave this board the way it is and just drop it right into the box and put it in storage, or at least put it aside. So that was kind of the idea of that. And so when I was thinking about how to go about the next version of this, I knew that I wanted to stay within the form factor of this plastic box, because this was going to be um, the easiest way to transport it, the easy way to store it. And if I can get this down to one platform that does it all, that would just be amazing. And so this was basically when I was laying things out and designing what I'm going to show you. This was the box that really defined what the size of it was going to be. So let's take a look. What has Brian been up to? Well, I've cut a piece of paper. Okay, maybe it took a little longer than, maybe I did a little more than that over the 3 week or so period. And my apologies, my camera's not focusing. Let's see if I can bring that in a little bit. Let's see if I can bring the camera in. Focus, because I want you to see what I'm going to show you. All right, let's see. I hope the camera focuses when I pull this piece of paper away. And this, yeah, it focused in nicely. This is what I've been working on. And what's going on here is that I have a plywood platform as opposed to the cardboard platform. And I just have a crazy amount of amazing goodies on this board. And so I'm going to carefully pull this out of its case. You know what? I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to pull this out of its case. And then we're going to take a closer look at what's going on this board. All right, so I'm going to slide this around a little bit so you can kind of see the various points of it. So starting right at the top, I have a USB hub, and this one I did a little research to find, and it actually takes 12 volts in and outputs 6 different USB ports. And as you can see up here, there's actually toggle switches for each port, so I can toggle each device on and off. And this particular hub has 4 data ports and 2 what are called quick charge ports. And the nice thing about the quick charge ports is they put out a lot more than the 2.4 amps that is spec with a USB type A connector. So the spec, as I understand it, is 2.4 amps at 5 volts. These output more than that. And the way I know that is because I have my Pi 4 connected to it, and I can run my Pi 4 without getting any voltage errors whatsoever. And it's really handy to be able to toggle each individual port on and off. So when I power this on, I'll press this button to power on my Pi 4, and then once my Pi 4 is up and running, then I can power up my individual microcontroller. And for the microcontrollers, I have my Arduino Mega, my ESP32, and then 2 individual Picos. Now, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but there's something a little bit unique about these Pico breadboards. And no, it's kind of difficult to see. So let me show you a zoomed in shot. This is a breadboard that's available from monkmakes.com. And if you look at the labels on the breadboard, they're not just standard pin numbers, they're actually the output pins of the Pi Pico. So they're already labeled for you. So you can see there in the upper left is the TX, RX, and ground pins. And then down the left side in blue, you see the different GPIO numbers. Over on the right-hand side, we see the same thing with the GPIO numbers. And then we even have the voltages in red lettering. And it makes it really handy to look at our Pi Pico pinout. Now I still have my card from the Kepler kit, which is still very useful to have because it shows a lot more detail than the Monkmakes breadboard does. But if I'm just doing quick assembly and I want to know what pin is what, it's really nice to have that labeled. The other thing that's important to note is you see, I've got my Pi, I've got my microcontrollers, I've got my 6x400 breadboard here, and then I also have a breadboard that goes with the Raspberry Pi. And the nice thing about having this extra breadboard is you can see I've got the breakout, and I've got my ADC all wired in, and I still have room down here for adding things. And then I have what I call the playground, this 6x400 pin, 6x400 pin breadboard for just lots and lots and lots of goodies. And I was very intentional when I designed this that every controller be one hop away from the playground. So you see, if I'm working on an ESP32 project, it's one hop away. If I'm working on a Raspberry Pi project, it's one hop away. Um, just, a lot of thought went into this, and I actually played with some cardboard cutouts to lay out exactly how this is going to work. Um, it took some doing, but I finally figured out that this is the optimum. The interesting thing about every single piece on this board is that they're attached with Velcro. I can literally take any component I want to off of the board like so. Of course, I have to disconnect it first, but they just pop right on or pop right off and then pop right back on. And the reason that's important is I've got the Pi Pico W right here on the end. That's so that when we start getting into portable projects, I can easily just unplug it here, pull the ground pins here, and now I have a completely portable Pico W on a breadboard. And of course, it's the Simon Mong indicated, or what was silk screened, labeled breadboard that is going to be very useful for making portable Pico projects. Now, you can kind of see how everything is laid out here. There's a lot going on, and everything is nice and neat and tidy, even down to the USB cables, how they're looped around so that they stay out of each other's way. But there's still one piece missing, and that is if I want to take something like this and I want to make this part of my Pi Pico project, how am I going to do that without taking up breadboard real estate or something? How am I going to do that? Because remember, I'm stuck with this 12 by 12 form factor. I can't make it any wider or deeper. So maybe what we could do is something like this, where we have a pull-out drawer where we can set our 3D printed objects. I'm going to bump the camera here a little bit. Our 3D printed goodies on here, still have all the breadboard space, still have all this extra space for the microcontrollers, for the Arduino and everything. So this is what I've been working on for the past few weeks, and why I haven't been posting a lot of videos, or any videos really. But now I'm looking forward to getting back into it, catching up on Pi Pico homework, starting to do Raspberry Pi homework again, and having a lot of fun with what I'm calling the playground. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe below. Probably have more videos coming on the subject, and I look forward to hearing from you. From Simply Brian Enterprises, this is Brian. Thank you for watching.